Hey everyone, welcome to my new video. I have something different prepared for today. Today I want to jump in and create something in Unreal Engine 5. Recently I posted a poll here on the community page whether I should try something new, either some 3D modeling software or Unreal Engine or some other game engine. And Unreal Engine really came on top because that's the hot stuff right now. And just this week there was a large event with the 5.2 Unreal Engine announced, and there are a lot of new functions coming in, expanding the functionality of Nanite, expanding the procedural capabilities and the material capabilities. And I really like where this is going with Unreal Engine and the revamp it got since the version 5. It's got the better UI now, and all of the systems like the Lumen and Nanite work out of the box, are really well built in, so it's very easy to start a new project from scratch and create some basic level design or something like that. And that's what I will try to do right now. I will just take some of my older themes like the ancient ruins and try to create an environment within Unreal Engine using built-in tools. So let's jump right in, and this is what you should see when you create a blank project from the empty template in the the Unreal launcher. And I went ahead and downloaded some assets from Megascans. You can do it right here. When you click this plus icon, there's a Quixel bridge option. Of course, you need to have the bridge installed. So in the Epic launcher, where you downloaded the Unreal Engine version, you need to download the Quixel bridge as well to have access to the Megascans. I won't use it right here because it made my recording really choppy for some reason. So I just went ahead and downloaded all of the assets beforehand, and it's right here. And you can see the Megascans folder. That's where your assets from the Quixel will go, and we have some 3D assets and we have some 3D plants. So I will just expand this right here so you can see what I have downloaded, so you can go and download it yourself. You can pause the video, go through this and just search for these keywords on the Quixel bridge to find the Megascans yourself. And the only thing that's not from Quixel bridge is this European hornbeam, and that's downloaded from the Unreal library that's available from the Epic Games launcher as well. So just go ahead and download that package as well if you want to follow this. Those are probably like the only nice looking trees I was able to quickly find that are free. So all of these assets are available for free either from the marketplace or from the Quixel bridge. So that's the basic setup here. And one more mention, I have the starter content drawer here, the folder. That's because when I was creating a blank project, there's a checkbox that you can enable starter content. I really recommend that if you want to play around, because there's already some textures and materials and stuff like that you can use right away. So quite a nice package right here. So let's jump right in. Let me close this. And yeah, this is the starter level, untitled. This is not saved. This is what is created for you when you open a blank project. The great thing about this is there are already, some things like the lighting setup here in place, sky setup with clouds and stuff like that. So we don't need to set this up everything manually. This gets created. There's also this landscape object, but for some reason I had an issue with this. When I create the landscape material, this doesn't work for me on this default landscape. But if I create my own from scratch, that works. So maybe let me know if you had something similar on your side. But for now, I will just delete this landscape, and we cannot just go ahead and delete it right away. We need to expand and delete these proxies first. These squares that the landscape is made of. So right click, and I will go ahead and delete those. And now we can delete the landscape itself, like that. And we can go to the landscape mode right here, and this is for managing sculpting and painting the terrains. Everything you need to do with the terrain, it's done right here, and this is the default size that gets created for you. And I really want this to be larger, so something like 16 by 16 squares, maybe even higher, something like 24. And yeah, I think this will be enough for now. So we'll leave the material blank and just create a new landscape right here. Okay, so the landscape is created for us, and basically we can now sculpt on this. Let me just move around. By the way, by holding the right mouse button you can look around, and using WASD keys you can move just as in the game, and you can increase the speed of your movement using the mouse wheel. So that's how you navigate here. And basically I want to place some reference here in the middle so you can see the scale here. Luckily here in the content drawer with the starter content there's some architecture assets, and we can just place a door somewhere here. And if you go to the selection mode and select the door here, you can press F to focus your viewport on that asset. So this is something here. And let me place this, dead center in the scene. So let me bring this up and let's go for 0, 0, 0 location. Let's go closer. And now let's bring this up a little bit like this. So we now have this in the middle, and you can see this is quite a large landscape. Maybe I went a little bit, overboard with the size, but worry not. We can just create a small island right here, and then, sculpt some horizon around. So yeah, let's do that first, and let's go back to the landscape mode, and we'll select our landscape right here. And in the sculpt mode, you can just go ahead and start, sculpting your landscape. And by holding Shift, you are sculpting, the other way around. You are subtracting from the landscape. So let's create an island, and I will increase the brush size quite a lot here, so we can easily create an island like this. And this is probably too much. And let me bring this down. Yeah, something like this. And we can of course flatten this. So let's choose the flatten tool. Let me reduce like this. And let's flatten some part here that we'll build our level on. Okay, something like this. And now let's go to the selection mode, and I will bring up our reference so it's visible here. Let me find it again, bring it up, and we can hit end so it sits on the background here. So now we can continue our sculpting. So let's go to the landscape mode. Sure, that works. And right now let's create, some hills around. Nothing too fancy. We'll just sculpt really rough terrain around. Let me make this really large. And just bring up something like this here. And now if we go closer, this should serve nicely as, some backdrop. Okay, I really like this so far. So let me reduce the speed of the navigation here. And I will go back to the selection mode. And let's make sure now we don't lose our level. Let's save this. So I will go here and let me collapse all of these folders. And let me create a new one here. And we'll call this Ruins. And right here we will go ahead and save our current level, and here in the Ruins folder we'll call this Ruins level. So I really recommend to go here often and click Save All, because if you, for example, create a material, you know, or some map or something like that here. Not everything gets saved when you just hit Ctrl S in your viewport, so better go here and click Save All. So we now have our basic level with our reference, and we can start building our landscape material. But before I do, I want another landscape here. I want to create like a water surface here, and we won't be dealing with the shader because in the starter content right here in the materials, we can find the water material ourselves. You can see there's a lake material and ocean material, and they're already like moving and stuff like that. So this is great from the starter content that we can use this out of the box. So let's go right here and back into the landscape mode. Let me go back a little bit like this, and let's create our new landscape. So let's hit new here, and we'll create a water level. And yeah, I think something like 16 by 16 should be enough here. That should cover our, you know, space around the island. So like this, and let's bring it up a little bit, and now you can see the water level rising. So something like this should work just fine. So let's hit create, and you can preemptively, you know, select the material right here. So if you go here and search for water, you can choose that ocean material right here and hit create, and it will create the landscape with the material already, just like this. And you can see it's already moving. So we have some, you know, nice ocean shader happening for us right here. So let me go back to the selection mode. Let's bring this back here. And if you're tired of navigating this often, you can hold Ctrl and press 1 to bookmark your view. So for example, when you go somewhere here, you can create another one by hitting Ctrl and 2. And now if you press 1, you go here, and number 2, you go here. So that's a really nice feature right here. And let's now go ahead and create our shaders. So let me expand the content drawer, and in the ruins folder, we'll create a new material. So let's right click and create a material, and we'll call this M Ruins Landscape. Okay, just like that. And we can double click to open that here and just drag this right here to dock it. And here, this is our shader. And you know, if you're coming from Blender, you might be familiar with this. There's a base color, metallic, roughness, you know, normal, and all that good stuff. So basically the PBR setup you should be familiar with. And right now I want to bring in some textures and blend them together. We'll be painting on our landscape using special blend node. But before, I want to find some textures. So let's bring up content drawer here again, and in the starter content, let's look in the materials drawer, and here we can see this ground grass. I really like that one, and I like the gravel as well here. And there's another one down here, that's the sandstone. But I won't bring, you know, the material here. I will go to the textures and search for them manually. So you can just go ahead and search. You can see the ground grass right here, but you can just search here and that will reduce, and you can just select both of those and just drag them here in your material editor right next to each other. So I will hit Ctrl and spacebar to bring this up again, and let me search for that gravel and bring it up right here like this. And now the final one, the sandstone, let's bring it up. Okay, and right now we'll need that special blending. So right click here and let's search for landscape, and we'll need the layer blend node right here. Doesn't look like much, but we'll configure it just in a moment. So let's just right click here and create landscape coordinates. So landscape again, and we'll need the layer coordinates, and we'll multiply this. So just drag a connection like this and search for multiply, and we'll use this to multiply our scaling. So we'll need more of these so we can, you know, scale them separately So let's select the node, press Ctrl D and just duplicate this 3 times and connect this right here, and now into the UVs for each of those maps. Just like that, and that should be fine in terms of textures. And now the blending. So here in the left, when you select the node, you can see the layers and there are 0 elements. So let's create a new one and we'll name this gravel. That's the one I want to start with, and I will already add some weight to it so we can see it in the previews. And let's add another one, and that will be called grass. And another one called sandstone. Okay, should work just fine. So we have these layers right here, and now I will duplicate this again and just connect these. So let's connect the diffuse textures first, the color textures, to the first blending node, and then the normal maps to the other one, like this. And now connect them to base color and to normal. So you should see preview like this right there, and basically that's everything we need to do for this landscape material. I think so. So let's just hit apply here. That's really important to compile the shader, and let's go right here, and in the content drawer make sure you save all. You will see you get some unsaved things right here, and choose save selected. So now let me just remove this, and let's bring our landscape material on our landscape. So let's switch to the landscape mode, but make sure you are editing the landscape 1 right here. And in the paint section, we have nothing here because the landscape is without the material. So let's select it right here, and let's choose the landscape material here. So let's search for landscape, and this is the ruins landscape that we just created. And you can see these layers right here that we created with that layer blend node. But we cannot just start painting right away because we need to create some, layer data right here with this plus icon for each of these layers. And basically whichever you will start with first will get applied, to the whole surface of the landscape. But I can see I made a huge mistake here. So let me go back here and let me reconnect these because I connected the grass to the gravel. So yeah, let me connect it right here and this one as well. And now the gravel should go to the first one and first one here. And I think that will fix the problem, and sandstone should be okay. And now the preview looks as it should, and now hit apply. Let's go back, and this is now correct. So let's hit the plus icon and create a layer here, and I will save it in the ruins folder and create a new layer information like this. And now you can see our texture gets applied, but the tiling looks really awful. So we can just go ahead and enable that scaling. So right here for the gravel we have this multiply node. So let's enter something like 0.3 maybe. They'll make it quite large, or 0.2. Let's see how that works. And I will do the same for all of these, and then we can tweak them later if we need to. So 0.2, let's hit apply. And yeah, this is now much better. So we have some, default landscape with a material. And now if you want to paint some grass on it, you just need to create a new data for this grass layer. So let's do that right here. Let's confirm. And also I will just hit save all and save it again so we don't lose any of our work. Let me collapse this. And now we can just paint our grass right here. If you select it in the layers, you can just start painting away. So let's do that right now. I want to paint this island with grass. So First of all, let's add strength of 1, and let's make this brush larger so it's easier to make this large. And then we can make it, you know, weaker to kind of blend it out to create a beach. Cool, that works. And now let's build our scene. So we'll leave the sandstone for later. So we can now go back to the selection mode and start building using the assets. So first of all, I want some smaller hill here. So let's select this right there and bring it up like this maybe. And I will go back to the landscape mode and try to paint in some more terrain. So let's choose the sculpt tool, and now we can make this smaller, much smaller, and let's build, you know, small hill. Okay, that'll be fine. So let me hit Ctrl 3. So we have 1, 2, 3 bookmarks, and let's go back to the selection mode. Let's expand the content drawer. You can also dock it in the layout here if you want to have it available. And let's bring in some assets. So in the Megascans folder, we have some 3D assets, and we have some, you know, stones and stuff like that. So let's bring in these stairs, and let's bring them closer here, like this, and we'll try to build on top of this. So let me go ahead and bring some tiles. So let's find some tiles next. Stone floor, like this, and bring it up. And we can make this larger, so you can use W, E, and R to switch, you know, these different tools. And let's build something like this here. And you can use Ctrl D to duplicate this, or you can just hold Alt key and drag it away. Okay, let me just speed up the process right here. I'll make these probably larger, so I don't need to, you know, fill the whole scene manually like this. And now it's time for some stones probably. So let's have a look what we have available here. And I really like this part right here because we can use it to, you know, round up we can use it to round up the stairs, just like this, and just make it larger. That should work. And about these holes there, we can always try to fill them, you know, by layering stuff like that. Or you can try to match the terrain, whatever works for you. We'll definitely need to, you know, raise the terrain a little bit later, but first I want to place all of these assets there. And we have, you know, rock formations like this. That will definitely be helpful to create interesting details. And yeah, we have this stone formation. that's quite universal. You can really make a lot of things with this formation. So you can kind of wrap up your layout in it, and then you can use it to have, you know, some stones peeking from the ground. Okay, I think this is nice for a start. So let's see what we have here. And there's this gigantic sandstone terrain that we can use to create the backdrop. We'll just need to go, you know, further away, or we can use our bookmark and, you know, now drag this into our scene and have these formations right there. And we can make it probably smaller. Okay, let's see. Yeah, this is looking nice, and we probably don't need this anymore, so we can just delete that and, you know, continue with some rocks. We can maybe place some larger formations like this in the background. Okay, and then we can bring in some columns. And let's make it quite larger. And I think this is too much. Yeah, definitely too much. So let's just wrap it up like this and duplicate some of these columns around here. Maybe we can tilt some of them a little bit, and one of them can be like lying on the ground. So let's bring it up like this and let's put it down. Yeah, something like this. Okay, and I really like this angle. Let me reduce the speed a little bit and refine the view. Yeah, something like this. So I will update my bookmark number 1, and don't forget to save often. Okay, so that's about the 3D assets, and we can always play with this some more later. But now the important thing is to bring in some foliage. So that's another mode we'll explore here, and that's the foliage right here. And we can't see any foliage down here because we haven't filled it up. So let's find some 3D plants right here in the Megascans folder. 3D plants, and, you know, let's explore some of those. So there's Areca, there's the fern, and you can see there are some variations, variation 1, 2, 3, and stuff like that. And they're all level of detail 0, which is okay, but there is some, you know, billboard materials and stuff like that, you know. So if you use a mesh like this, by default it will use the level of detail system, but if you right click the mesh and go nanite, you can activate the nanite, which I've already done. So all of the plants will be nanite. So if you now go and, for example, explore the nanite triangles in the scene, you can see all of these assets. Even the rocks in the background are nanite, because I activated that, you know, within their model. So if you right click and nanite, you can check the box, and basically that's all you need to do to make some mesh behave with the nanite system. These in the background are a little bit too low poly because I import them that way from the Quixel. I didn't want to blow up the project size, but if you are going to do this for yourself, definitely import the nanite versions from the Quixel bridge so you don't have these so low poly. But other than that, you know, this is pretty straightforward, and make sure you do this for all of these plants. So let me just disable this right here, and let's go lit. And the other thing I made, you can see them moving with the wind. That's something that's not working out of the box, although it's prepared. And anything you import from the Megascans, you will have this MS presets folder right here. And you can see the foliage material right there. That's the universal foliage material for all of those. And if you open it up, it's quite robust. But you can see there's a functionality for the wind happening right here, but this is the master material. That's the M that's right here. So you need to find the instance of the material, and that's probably located in the, you know, the plant folder. So if you go 3D plants, Eureka right here, you can see there's a material instance right here and the billboard instance. We are not interested in that one because we are using nanite. So you can just open this one right here, and you can see you are not getting the node, you just get this instance settings, and right here you just enable grass wind, and it will just start working in your scene. And you can do this after you placed your plants. So if you paint your plants and you want to enable wind, you just locate these material instances and enable wind right here. So that's for the nanite and wind. So let's now go ahead and drag some of that foliage. And again, it needs to be in foliage folder, not the static mesh. So in the foliage folder, we'll just select all of these plants and just drop them here. And let's locate some others. Yeah, these ferns look fine. We'll probably need to wait a little bit for these thumbnails to regenerate. But you know what, I have no patience for that, so I will just go ahead and bring them all in like this, and we can see the previews right there. And we can, for example, you know, delete them later if we don't like them all. And let's bring all of these. And the wild grass, that's probably the most important for some realistic grass. Okay, and let's try to paint some. So first of all, let's go and paint some grass. I will check, you know, all of the types of this grass because we need a lot of variation here. You probably don't need all of them, so you just check the boxes and then, you know, reduce the brush size a little bit. Let's, you know, collapse this a little bit. Let's paint some grass. Let's make it even smaller. Okay, so we are painting some grass, but we need some more density, of course. And if it's not enough, you can, you know, edit the density within the plant, within the plant options right here. But let's first check whether this is nanite as we expect. And as you can see, it works just fine. All of this grass is nanite and it's animated too, which is just great. So now let's go here and let's select the grass strands that we enabled. We can deselect those. And let's increase the density right here. Okay, let's try 200. That's more like it. So let's go for 500 here. And now we are getting some grass density. Yeah, we can try even more maybe. Let's try 800 and we can then modify it on top like here. So let's remove some by holding shift and let's try again. And of course we can blend it by reducing this density right here to place, you know, some not so dense patches around. Okay, and now we can increase the density right here. And make these parts that are close to the camera or will be close to the camera really dense. And of course we'll need to be careful so we don't have any, you know, grass here, although some of that looks fine, so we can just reduce the brush size here and add some erase density, and by holding shift, you know, remove some strands here and there, but actually keep the overgrowth here. I think that'll look great to have some additional grass. Maybe not on these rocks. By the way, it can be enabled here that if you are painting over static meshes, it will not catch, it will paint only on the landscape. But in this case, I really like this. So and now we can bring in some more of these plants. So let me just select everything here. And uncheck, and now we can just click some of these and bring them into the mix. I think this one looks great. Yeah, let's try it like this. Cool. And of course it's a little bit dense, so let's go back and we can reduce the density here. Still too dense because we ramped up that, you know, initial density, but when you go really low here, it should work just fine. So yeah, probably like this. And of course we can select all of these and have the minimum and maximum scale. So for example, something like 0.7 and maximum of 1. So now there will be some variation in sizes. We can bring it down even more, something like 0.5. Okay, and I think the density was too much. So let's bring it down. Let's bring it down to, I don't know, 300 or even less. And now it's a little bit better. Yeah, let's try 50. And now let's make this larger. Okay, not too bad. Maybe we can make some more dense areas, like here. Really bring it up. And here in the back. Okay, and let's bring in some more plants. That's you know, a really long wild grass. So let's try that one, and we can also, you know, add single strands like this, here and there. And now I'll locate the trees right here. Let me expand this, and we have some nice selection here with also these saplings and seedlings and things like that. So I will bring in some of these as well, and then some of these larger forest type trees like this, and this is looking really nice. And bring them as well. Let's locate those. Okay, so here's the seedling and the sapling, and we can use the single, you know, to plant some of these tree saplings. They should be really, you know, subtle. Now we can try some trees. So let's try, for example, this one. Let me deactivate this, and let's try a tree. Actually looks quite okay, but I would rather place it somewhere here. Yeah, let's place them outside a little bit. Yeah, let me create a new bookmark right here, so we can easily switch and check how this looks like. And now let's bring in some more trees. Let's deactivate this one, and let's bring in some of these larger forest trees. Okay, coming up nicely. I think I want to have some more here, so we get some of that overgrowth. And I really want to, you know, create some shadows here. So first of all, let's figure out the light. Let me go to the selection mode, and if you hold Ctrl L, you are able to control the position of the sun. Okay, and we can continue adding some more trees. So let's go back to the foliage mode, and let's click some of them. I think I didn't variate the scale, so let's go like 0.7 to 1.5, and we can use the paint. So let's remove some of them again, and let's place those scale variations. And you can see they're moving in the wind, the branches are moving. Really nice functionality out of the box from the Unreal Marketplace, so really works just fine. And of course, we don't have anything here, so if you really want to be thorough, we can just go ahead and paint in some more grass here as well. So let's just go ahead and first of all paint in some more forest. So we get some of that overgrowth there, and now we can paint some grass. So let's deactivate this, and again let's go ahead and activate the grass, or we can just select everything here and check the box like this. Increase density to 800 again. Okay, so this is it probably. I think like the basic environment is done. Let me just find some nice shot here. And first of all, let's save everything. And now we'll bring in some animations. So you can just go ahead here and in the ruins folder, right click and create cinematics and level sequence. Let's call this ruins level animation. Okay, we can double click, and for this to work, to have this render queue here, you need to make sure you have some plugins active, like the movie render queue right here. Okay, and now here we can just create a cinematic camera, you know, with the first track. And when you do this, let me collapse the content browser. You can see here the pilot active, so now you are moving the camera, but let me set it up here. When you select the camera right here, you can see all the camera settings you can change. So here's the ratio and the sensor size, and we have some universal zoom. You can choose, you know, some predefined fixed lenses, but I will leave it like this. And first of all, let's fix our focus distance. So you can draw a debug plane and choose a focus distance just like this. Something like that should work just fine. We can disable the debug, and right now we can reduce the focal length to something like 24. I want this to be wider, and let's go down with the aperture to something like 1.4. Now nothing happens here because we have the automatic exposure, so we should find the metering right here in the exposure, and we can enable manual metering mode, and we can have our own exposure compensation. And additionally, we can go ahead and enable some image effects like vignette, and then in the camera options you can edit the shutter speed and ISO, and you can see this becomes brighter, and then, you know, play with that exposure compensation. Okay, something like this. And of course we can add some lens flares here, and you can see they're really subtle because we have a lot of trees here, but we'll try to, you know, work with that. And then we can enable bloom as well, and we can increase the intensity, and here in the scene we can now modify the position of the sunlight. I think this looks nice, but this point light shouldn't be there, so let me just delete that, and not sure about this one as well. And then you can go into the foliage and choose select, and, you know, selectively try to remove some of the foliage that might get in the way, so you get, you know, more sun rays and stuff like that. And now let's go back to the camera right here, and let me reduce that exposure. Where is it? Here it goes. And maybe increase that bloom effect a tiny bit, and the lens flares, so we get some flashy environment. Increase the vignette, and there you have it. There's your, you know, environment. So basically, let me just reduce this a little bit like this, and now we can animate this very easily. So as I said before, the pilot is active, so we can just move with the camera around. I think the lens flares are now maybe too strong. Yeah, probably too strong, and maybe the bloom as well. And now we are able to add the transform keyframe on the frame one here, and just move all the way right there. And maybe we'll need, you know, some more frames, so you can just always, you know, go ahead and expand this to something like 210, then expand the track, move this all the way to 210, and now we can just move closer like this, find another nice shot, maybe like this. Let me just slow this down a little bit. And add another keyframe right here. Now I can just select the keyframe, right click and choose linear interpolation so we don't have any acceleration. And yeah, now we have our real-time Unreal animation with some wind, you know, and stuff like that. And if you want to render this out, you just go to the render queue, and in the config you have JPEG sequence by default, so you can change that, for example, to PNG sequence, and you have deferred rendering. And there's a lot of stuff you can do here if you want to do, for example, like a ray traced render or, you know, path traced. But you know, this basic render you can just render local into the predefined directory, and you will have your sequence rendered out. So yeah, that's it for the quick Unreal Engine scene. I tried to, you know, create some ancient ruins, which is the stuff that I like to do in my, you know, YouTube tutorials and also in my courses. So this was another medium to add to the mix. And I really have to say, let me just save this real quick so we don't lose it. Yeah, let me just say I really love the Unreal Engine workflow. At times it can be a little bit clunky for me, as I'm not used to some of these you know, controls and navigating the viewport and stuff like that. And there is a lot of really heavy technical stuff going on, much more than in Blender. So, you know, at times a little bit humbling experience, but I enjoyed it nevertheless, and I will definitely do some more scenes in the future. And when I do, it will probably replace my Blender process video that week. So, you know, let me know in the comments if you like that idea, that, you know, sometimes I might release the Blender process video and sometimes I might do Unreal one, even though they will be not commentary. For that I have the tutorials that I release at the end of the week, and you know, maybe later some of them will be Unreal focused. Who knows what will happen in the future, but for now I want to keep it casual, you know, play with this around and, you know, get creative with Unreal Engine basically. So again, let me know if you enjoyed this one, and if you did, please leave that like, and if you want to see more stuff like this in the future, hit that subscribe. Thank you all for watching and have a wonderful day.